So here I am, I'm sat on Kingfisher Lake, Winton's Fish Free, West Sussex. We're just over 36 hours, 48 hours this evening, into a 5-day, 5-night session with my good friend Mike Gardner. I fished this lake quite a bit. It's very local to where I live. Small lake, sort of 4, maybe 5 acres, 30 fish in it, gets a lot of pressure. They're very wise. I mean, the fish in this lake, some of them have been here. Well, I fished this lake when I was in my 20s. I'm over 50, so, 25, 30 years. They've seen pretty much every single rig, bait, combination, angler, bait boats, baiting poles that you can imagine. So they're very wise. It's a fantastic challenge. Hopefully I'll show you a bit more footage around the lake later. I mean, there's sunken islands, there's snags, trees, reeds, lily pads. There's 2 small islands, there's channels. It's very intimate. I think I'd describe it. Very intimate. And it's got carp up to knocking on the door of over 50. There's certainly one that's over 50. There's one that comes out sort of 49, 50. Apologies for the noise in the background. There's building works going on, building houses around. That's another conversation. But yeah, it's been an interesting start. Obviously, last week was very hot. Water temperature was up. I think there's 3 lakes on this complex. The other 2 lakes, the carp had spawned. This one they hadn't, but it looks like they were getting ready. And of course, the temperature over the weekend dropped 14 degrees during the day, and single figures, sort of 4s and 5s at night. So yeah, it's taken the heat out of the water. So yeah, the first couple of days were struggling. They weren't showing, they weren't doing much at all. A couple of small, sort of the stockies had come out. So yeah, it's it got us thinking. RG Baits, Raspberry Ripple, just off one of the islands. Again, an area that is known to produce fish, but I hadn't had a bait on it. And yeah, rods had been out half an hour, and I had the bigger carp in here, and some of you will identify with this. They don't always tear off. You don't get these screaming runs. You almost get these sort of finicky bream-like runs. But the thing is unlike bream, which you're trying to get a run, which is kind of, beep, 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 beep. The bobbin just went up and held. And that's happened to me before with sort of larger fish. They just stopped, the bobbin stopped. And I hit into it, and I thought I'd hit a snag because it just went solid. There was nothing there. So I knew I had something good on. So anyway, after about 10 or so minutes, eventually got its head up. And the chap fishing across from me came around and helped me net it. And yeah, in the net, 36 pounds, beautiful common. I'll show some pictures later. But came in it's called Scott's Mate. It's one of the A team. Funny enough, I had that fish actually back in March, I think it was, February, March, at sort of 38 pounds when it was absolutely Baltically cold. So made up with that. So that was great. Some pictures taken, checked the fish over, make sure it's okay, released it safely. Settled back in my bivvy, thought I'd just sort a few things out, because obviously everything was a mess, scales and what have you everywhere. And the other rod just tore off. That was a proper run. Yeah, Rob hooped round, got out. Bit surprised actually, I wasn't expecting to get another one. I mean, this lake you kind of don't, well, not that you can't get big hits on it, but it tends to be 1 or 2 fish come out every so often. So I wasn't really expecting anything. And yeah, I had a beautiful, fully scaled, I think it's about a £16 mirror. So not even halfway through yet. I already had 2 on the bank, which I'm made up with. Still a lot to work for. Mike earlier unfortunately lost one, so I'm a bit gutted for him for that. Hopefully I'll be back on here again, catch up with you all. I'll talk you through some of the rigs I'm using, why I use them, the hook patterns that I use, again, why I use them. And yeah, I look forward to catching up with you all soon. Take care now. Bye. So here we are. This is the last night. Off tomorrow afternoon, evening. Yeah, it's been an interesting... Oh, hat's not on straight. Been an interesting week. Done okay. Had a couple of carp. And a pike. And a brain. But we don't want to talk about it. We won't go into details on that. But never mind. We have the Carp barbecue going. So we've got sausages and kebabs tonight for dinner with roast potatoes. So that'll be nice. Still, got, about 24 hours to go. So there's still every chance. Feeling quite positive. The weather's warmed up. It is high pressure. I'm talking a little about the weather. Maybe I feel it's an excuse coming through. I've tried different spots, different baits, different bait colours, just to see if I could find if there was something that they were looking for. But I just couldn't find that. Unlock the key, as they say. But certainly for me, it's I'm not one to turn up and just cast out and sit there and wait. I do tend to work for it. Possibly that goes against me sometimes, when actually sitting there just putting them on a spot and waiting is the better thing to do. But that's my style of fishing, and it's a style that I'm comfortable with. And yeah, I think it's really, for everybody watching, I think it's really important that you find that sort of style of fishing that you're comfortable with and that you enjoy, because ultimately that's what it's about. It's about being comfortable, enjoying, being yourself. I think in this world today, I certainly know from my sort of corporate career that, there's not that you can't be yourself, but we carry a lot around with us. Maybe it's feelings that we're not quite good enough, or, things aren't going as we wanted. We had a plan and it's not playing out. For me, this session was very much about unwinding, getting back, connecting with myself again. Often I'm on a bit of a treadmill. Often I'm on a treadmill. Demands from work, demands of my career, trying to be a good dad. Oh, fish has just jumped out on a very far bank, looked like a small common. Trying to be a good trying to be a good dad, trying to be a good husband. Just trying to be a good person. Friends, family, all the things that don't always find easy. So coming here, I can just relax, enjoy the nature. I love nature. I feel very grounded, listening to the trees, the wind through the leaves, and just seeing everything unfold. I feel very fortunate, very special to be an angler. We see things that not everybody gets to see in their lifetime. And I think that's something very unique about carp angling and fishing in general. So yes, they're my sort of mumbles for the afternoon, evening, as the sun starts to set. I mean, I can turn this camera around. There's obviously no way not to do it, but I don't know. There's not a little logo that tells me I can spin it round, so we won't do that. But yeah, that's where we are. If anything happens, I'll give you another further update. I wish you all well, and yeah, base is very shiny and red. I wonder if I caught the sun today. I've been sat out in the sun watching the lake a lot today. Not in necessarily direct sunlight, but certainly in the vicinity of it. Always wear sunscreen. That's my error of the trip. I haven't put enough sunscreen on. Yeah, wish you well. Tight lines. So here we have the Cobb barbecue. It's a wonderful bit of kit. If you haven't got one, it's worth looking at. Certainly getting one if you like your barbecues on the bank. If you've got one, you probably know how good they are. But tonight we have cooking. We have potatoes and sausages. We've got kebabs going on a bit later. Great bit of kit. So as I mentioned earlier on, I said I'd walk you through the rig that I use. And so yeah, this part of the video is really just to show you what I use here. So you can see here, for those of you who want to know what it's called a combi rig, or slip D combi rig. The reason it's called a combi rig is because there is obviously a length of fluorocarbon and a length of braided hook link, and there is a slip D, which is the way the bait is mounted and moves against the hook. But what I'm going to do is talk you through the various component parts of this and why I use them. So starting at this end, I use a figure of 8 knot. I've got my fingers all over the place. Figure of 8 knot. I do blob, you can see that I just blob the end, a little bit of security should that knot slip. Hopefully that, you know, gives me a little bit of grace. I've never had it slip, but it's something I've been doing for years, and I guess it's, you know, it's a habit. Make a straightforward simple loop and slide over a little bit of rig tubing here. This is shorter than what I'd normally use, because usually I'd have a piece that comes down here and it covers up the knot and everything, but obviously for the purpose of this I've put on a smaller piece, and this is a rig I've used and I'm not going to be using much more, so as in this particular version, not the style. It served its purpose. And yeah, it's a simple loop that's tied on there, and obviously that then hooks onto a quick link swivel, and that then can slide up and protect the quick link swivel and make sure it doesn't catch in the landing net or anything when you're landing a fish. The material that I use here is the Corda IQ soft fluorocarbon. This is £20, and obviously this sort of whole hook length is probably 11-12 inches. I do like fishing long. I'm experimenting with longer hook lengths at the moment, just to see if I can trip up these wary carp that I'm fishing over at Winton's. So yeah, length of fluorocarbon. I've got a tungsten stopper on here. That is really, along with this sort of bit of tubing here, that's just really, when this lands, it's just to help to kick it out. It's not a massively large tungsten piece of tungsten here, tungsten stopper, because obviously, because I'm fishing in silty water, I don't want this to sink deep into the silt, but I do want it to kick out from when the lead lands, so it kicks out, and that can obviously drift down, and it gives me a nice presentation. Obviously using fluorocarbon again in the silt, hopefully that will just get mirrored, camouflaged, disappear. I know people using fluorocarbon fishing line often say it can pick up the debris. I haven't found that on this, but again, reeling it in, it could well brush off. So, but you know, it has caught me quite a few carp of decent sizes as well. So yeah, so as we travel down, I have here, this is where I connect the two lines together. So the softer hook link here, and apologies, it's gone out of focus, but that's the Corda Supernatural in gravel brown braided hook link. This is £18, and underneath there's the Albright knot, and apologies, obviously can't show you the Albright knot because I've covered it in tungsten. But yeah, so there's lots of YouTube videos on how to tie the Albright knot. It's a very good knot, combining mono fluorocarbon to a braided braided hook link. The reason I put a little bit of tungsten here is, if you see the knot, it's, you know, it's not a huge knot, but on occasions I have found that if I'm fishing at long distances, this can sometimes wrap around and just get caught on it, and I've reeled in and it's got caught. So I put a little bit of tungsten, sort of size of a mouse dropping, just to protect it, but also just to give it, again, it sort of helps everything sink down. But I've also found it just gives it a nice bit of movement, because it can't, you know,
because of the way it sits, you can see here with the braided hook link, instead of just being fully stiff, you've got this lovely movement here. Hopefully you can see that on the camera. So whichever angle the fish comes from, how it picks it up, that moves really nicely, really free. And it's also got the flexibility to drop into the fish's mouth. And again, as I said, with the tungsten, it just helps it all kick out. What you'll see here, if I show you sort of the business end, the pointy end, is I've also got a tungsten kicker. Again, just to aid the hooking properties and protect this part of the hook. The way that the Albright works with the slip D is basically, the slip D is you create a loop which you push through, and obviously goes through the inside of the eye to the outside, hook it over, and you've basically got a free running loop. So hopefully I can show you that here. And so obviously that pull tight, you can just see here, there's a loop. Hopefully that's clear. So yeah, if you get a fish, that's how you land the fish, that's how your rig will look. And the pressure is obviously on the loop and the Albright knot. And I found it to be a very successful way of both joining these together, but also landing fish as well. It's a very strong, secure knot. But obviously when you tie these knots, make sure you give them a good pull to make sure that they're nice and tight. But you can see there, sort of the kicker effect. That goes down to the loop, and obviously on there I've got apologies, this is coming undone, but I've got a little swivel there, a little ring swivel, and obviously I've got, for the purpose of this demo, 2 bits of sweet corn, but you can put boilies or whatever bait you're fishing with. This is the slip D part, and as you can see here, there's fantastic bait separation. So when the fish sucks that up and they spit it out, that moves really nicely to come free, but the hook stays in place. I've made a bit of a what's it of that, so oh, now I'm knocking the camera, so that's really bad. The interesting thing I found is that, as I said, when you land a fish, it comes in like this. You take the hook out, but also it's a very good indication if you get done. So obviously, if you're fishing and you've had a few beeps, not sure what's happened in the night, and you reel in, that is how you read. Chances are you probably haven't been done, but there are occasions, and I'll be honest, this has happened to me on occasions. It's come in like this, and I'm thinking, I've been done. The fish managed to work out how to get past this, and that's, whilst not great information, it's all information is useful. So I then experiment and find out, okay, right, how can we change things? The very pointy end is I use J Precision Advanced LGs. The advanced LGs are long shank, wide gape. So you can see here, very nice long shank, so you get really good presentation for using a slip D. But you can hopefully see there as well, I'll show you there, slightly incurved point, and I do like the wide gapes. I'm not a great fan of straight points, partly because I think a bit like straight points are a bit like a sort of needle that goes in and out. Those of you had ejections in your arms or wherever, it's designed to go in and out. These are more like like a talon, a claw, and they can obviously turn round. And especially when using barbless hooks, I find that these just could give really good hook holds. So I've used these a lot. And I tend to be, I'm a big fan of sort of wide gape style hooks. And obviously this is the best of both worlds. And because it's the advanced, there's got a blob there that is put on to protect where obviously, the eye of the hook bends round. That's there to protect it. It's super strong. These hooks are all from JP, are all hand sharpened, and in my view, the hook is the piece that connects us to the carp. So it's the piece of kit that does, in my view, is the most important. And why do I say that? So, you can have great rods, reels, line, hook length, but ultimately, if the hook fails, it's a lost fish. So I tend to, I use the best hooks that I can get my hands on. That are available, and I found that these ones from J Precision Hooks are, they're top quality, never let me down. Very, very impressed with them, and I think for the money they're reasonably priced as well. And I'm not sponsored by them, nothing like that, so they're just the ones that I use. And it's the same here, like the Corda hook links that I use, I'm not sponsored by Corda or anything like that. It's just they're the ones that I found for the budget and what I'm looking to do. They have provided sort of the best service, not company but the material, and I've tried lots of different ones and I like them, but there's plenty of other different ones in the market. The other thing that's really exciting about this, and if I can show you, and is that because these are hand sharpened, they will, if you have a fish, they can go blunt. You know, the tip just, you can see, hopefully I can show you, the tip is super sharp. And I'm going to take these off because they're just starting to annoy me. And you have a fish, and what you can do actually, it's very easy just to change the hook. So all you do is just remove that, take the swivel off, so you can see that, pull the hook out, you can take the hook out, and then simply get a new one. And I tend to, after every fish, and obviously you just feed that back in there. I'm not going to demonstrate that now because I haven't got my glasses on and I'll go horribly wrong. But that would feed through there, through the eye, back over, put your ring seal back on, feed that into there, and you've got a complete setup again. It's something that I do after each fish. I would just automatically change the hook because I want that hook to be super sharp every single time. I will change the hook. I know some people hand sharpen their own hooks, which is great. For me, it's about sort of convenience and speed, and I've found the hooks from Jamie over at J Precision are, I think he can sharpen them far better than I ever will, so I tend to use his expertise. So yes, I think I've hopefully explained most of it. Obviously I said, yep, like tungsten kicker here just to help. Obviously the Albright knot, tungsten here as well just to help it kick out. Obviously you've got different hooks lying around everywhere now. So yeah, hopefully that's been of use. If you've got any questions, feel free to message me, and yeah, many thanks indeed. Bye bye.